One.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to an Origin review. Game 1 done and dusted, and the Blues absolutely dominate the Queensland side. Do not let the score fool you. The Blues were dominant. And this is brought to you by Bloke Jumpers, dropping June 10th at 6 p.m. You can see the maroon and the hat I'm wearing. Obviously, Timmy, he's got his jumper on as well. Matty's got his jumper on, and we also got the hats. That's June 10, limited edition. Set your alarms. Very, very few. So they're going to go quickly, so make sure to be there. Also, make sure to grab your grumpy coffee. And as always, a massive thank you to Sportsbet for partnering with the show. Game 1 done and dusted. A dominant performance by the Blues. Absolutely outstanding performance by some key players, which we'll get to. But an overview of the game, New South Wales completely controlled that game. The Queenslanders were reacting to everything New South Wales did rather than the other way around. The game was not about New South Wales always being a reactionary side. They were dictating the terms of the contest. It was a dominant win from New South Wales, and it's going to look very scary for the rest of the series. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
It reminded me, Kempy, back in the day, watching Black Caviar run at Flemington. And you'd sit there and he'd jump out of the gates, hot favourite, and he'd go to the front from the word go. And Luke Nolan would never pull out the whip. He was so comfortable from the word go. He'd cruise through and he had it won from the moment he got out of the gate. That's not me trying to be a smart ass, believe it or not. I haven't watched an Origin game where it's felt so in control in a game of football. And as you said, like, it was a 12-point margin in the end, a few missed kicks obviously in there, but you're right, like, the Blues controlled the game of footy, and barring probably the business sin bin, everything went to plan for them, right? They went out there with this game plan that wrote itself. You had this big back three with great yardage, this long kicking game, play high percentage. In particular, that first half, everything went to plan for them. And it feels weird to say it for an Origin game at Suncorp Stadium. It was a pretty easy watch.
Yeah, well, from a New South Wales perspective, that's for sure. Not an easy watch for me as a Queenslander. And I will say the scary thing for Queensland is they looked like the new team put together. It didn't, like, the question heading into this, Moses, Cleary, will they click? And they weren't perfect. They could have scored more points, get all that. Their forward pack laid an incredible platform. So did their wingers. But they're the ones that look like they've been playing together the last 5 years. The concerning thing for the Queensland Maroons is, if anything, they should have looked way smoother. They looked, honestly, in attack, they looked terrible. Like, terrible. They looked disjointed. They looked clumsy. They were running the wrong lines, wrong timing, wrong everything. And that's the biggest concern for me. It's not, try their effort and trying hard or whatever. Their defence was actually pretty good, the Maroons, to a degree. But their attack was completely off tonight. And if I'm being honest, as soon as Dearden went on, as soon as Dearden got the ball in that link man position, Queensland started to see a bit of a life in their attack. So huge concerns around DCE. I thought Munster probably had a bit of a better game than DCE, but DCE in attack, I think there's big concerns for Queensland moving into the rest of the series.
Yeah, like, I went into the game sort of relatively confident, but it was off the back of a couple of things, and it was that key spine players were out of form or coming back from injury, right? So the big question mark going in was, like, Kalen Ponga. Okay, have the Knights made him look poor? Has he not had the go forward there? Has that been the issue? Are we going to see Kalen Ponga hit Origin level and just light up and go, no, he's been there all along. It's been a club level. It's been a Knights thing. Harry Grant, a superstar of our game, another one there.
Had a shocker.
Mate, if it was a fully fit Harry Grant going in, I'd be terrified. And I was, don't get me wrong, but he'd played 55 minutes of footy going into the game off the back of a hamstring injury, rushed back into big minutes in Origin. I think he played that entire first half and a bit of the second half. And he looked off. Kalen Ponga looked off, and you just went, okay, it's not just a club level thing. He's like, not saying Harry's out of form, but he's come back from injury. Yeah. Ponga's out of form. Daly Cherry Evans, he'd put together, not to blame it on the announcement of leaving clubs and leaving Manly, but since that happened, it's hard to ignore that he'd been out of form. That carried into Origin level. And to your point, Kempy, they had no structure. The timing was off across the park. There were a lot of blokes in this team that had played together for a long time. Yeah. And everything looked off.
Yeah, and the concerning thing is it's an ageing roster. What used to be the strength of this Queensland roster, the fact that it was a bit older, was more experienced, they'd played together, they were smooth, they were silky. We didn't even get that. Like, so usually with an ageing roster, you would go, okay, they might get beaten to the punch a little bit. They might be a little bit slower, a little bit more fatigued. It wasn't that. They were just clunky. Matty, thoughts on the Queenslanders? And then we'll get straight into the really in-depth dive on the Blues, and then we'll get into Queensland, guys.
Normally during Origin, I am sitting there pretty much shitting bricks, and it was this really, really easy watch, which is not disrespectful at all. I just felt comfortable the whole time, even though the scoreboard probably didn't suggest that. I know they missed a few kicks, but New South Wales just looked in control the whole game. Queensland, with the ball in hand, were just lost. And when I was watching my team defend, I never felt completely threatened by Queensland. It was especially at Suncorp, you're so used to them just being so ferocious in attack and so good, and they were just so lackluster. I don't know what the answer is, because they just looked lost out there.
Yeah. All right, let's get into New South Wales. What an outstanding game plan. And I remember we were watching, and it was about 10 to 15 minutes in, and one of the commentators was like, oh, Queensland look like they're about to get it back on top, and, the Blues are being a bit too conservative. And we were like, what? No way. Stick to the game plan. Stay calm. Stay in it. And that's exactly what the Blues did. They did not flinch from the game plan. They had a very specific game plan about a conservative style of footy, camp them down their end, have more possession, have more metres run, more tackle breaks. Here's a stat for you. In the first half, they nearly doubled the Queensland's metres run. In the first half, they had 29 tackle breaks to Queensland's 9. Queensland had 30 missed tackles in the first half. It was an absolute domination from the Blues. And what did they do? They got down that end initially. They kicked to Lomax. Smart. Just field position, kick to Lomax. We saw the fruit that bared. It was just a clinical game plan from them. And I've got to say, although Mitchell Moses didn't set the world alight and there was a couple of kicks that were a little bit off, he really did put his egos aside, and he stepped all the way back, because it was all around Cleary. Cleary's kicking obviously was really poor, but kicking for goal. In game, though, I thought Cleary is outstanding. But there's two blokes I want to mention off the top. Zack Lomax and Crichton. That is Stephen Crichton. This was Stephen Crichton's best Origin game I've seen him play. He was absolutely phenomenal. And we spoke about it before in the selection table, is could he be a leader, a captain for the Blues for the next 10 years or the next 5 years? This game, he has cemented himself as one of the best players in the competition, regardless of position. And also, he might become one of the most valuable players in the competition if he continues this form in Origin and for the Bulldogs. This was a lifetime game for Critter, in my opinion. This was a game that a lot of people are going to look back and remember how good Critter played. And it wasn't just in attack, it was in defence as well. He was the closest thing to perfect I've seen a centre play in Origin. That's how good he was.
The good thing, Kempy, about the nature of the Blues lineup and the attributes that they've got, in that they've got this back three who get this massive yardage. No matter what the situation, they get them out of trouble. They've got these two halves with these massive boots, namely Mitch Moses as well, that gets them out of trouble. They've got the best front row in the world, Payne Haas, that gets them out of trouble when the going gets tough. But then they had the Riz on top of it, didn't they? They had these superstars, and tonight those players were Stephen Crichton and Zack Lomax, and said you get down there, you play high percentage footy, you complete. Then you get there and you go, all right, we lay Angus Crichton and Jeremiah and I. All right, nothing's going on. We kick crossfield to Zack Lomax, and he produces brilliance. But, mate, just on Stephen Crichton, the performance that he put up tonight.
Unbelievable.
Genuinely, if you're to believe all the things coming out of Blues camp, yesterday he was 50-50 whether or not he was going to play after. I think he was at Cork at training. And in Critter's early years in Origin, when he sort of came in as a bit of a stopgap when Latrell was out or Tommy Turbo was out or whoever it might have been. And I remember sitting on this panel 3 years ago and he played a few of these games and new blokes had sort of defend him a little bit. And I said, no, he had defensive issues. He would go for these big intercept plays and try and go for match winners, and he'd get caught out, and then he'd come up with a big play later on, but it's like, all right, it's 1 for 1. And he'd make poor defensive read, poor defensive tackles. By the standards that Stephen Crichton we knew was capable of and that we'd seen at club level, that just feels like it was 2 decades ago, because the defensive performances, he's now become essentially the best defensive centre in the NRL. It's a good honour roll of people in it he's up against. But
I honestly, after that performance, it's clear. It's daylight.
That's pretty bloody close to I want to say, among the best defensive performances from a centre at Origin level. The reason I'm a little hesitant to say it is the Maroons didn't throw a lot at them, but the amount of time, it was a 12-point margin in the end.
And he would double defend on the edge there.
The amount of defensive plays he made, where there were 2-on-1s, and he just held off, he'd bite in, and then he'd go bang out. He'd feign in and go back out. There was a couple of 2-on-1s there where he saved tries off his own back just due to brilliant defensive plays. It was more about what he did off the ball in defence than what he did with ball in hand.
But what's crazy is, so we're talking about in the second half, he won them the game with his defence. He opened the scoring with his attack. Big right foot on Valentine Holmes, gets through the line, gives it to Lomax, they score. Yes, you can find better centres that have had a better attacking game than Critter in the history of Origin or whatever. But I think it's right up there with the full gambit of the game, attack and defence, being a 9.9 out of 10. That's how good the game was from Critter. It was absolutely phenomenal.
And Kemp, you got you got Laurie Daly there, and you got Billy Slater there, and they're going, all right, this is State of Origin. We've got Hamiso Tabuai, Fido, Valentine Holmes, Latrell Mitchell, Zack Lomax, and you go, boys, just defend and make your right decisions, get your contact good. Points will come. Get your defence right.
Mate, he was so good. That double defence he did on the end, the times he jammed in, the times he dragged players out, dragged Val Holmes out, he was absolutely incredible. And if you weren't fully on board the Crichton hype train, get on board now. We're talking about a generational talent. What do you reckon, Matty?
He was easily my man of the match. They ended up giving it to Payne Haas, and Payne Haas, he set the tone for us all game. So I'm more than happy with him getting man of the match. But Critter, by far and away, was my personal man of the match. Just his defence, like you boys just touched on it. There were so many times where because I'm just so used to seeing it, I was just so used to seeing the centre kind of shit his pants and make the wrong decision, and he just never did.
No.
And it was always 2-on-1. He was so good. It was easily the best game I've ever seen him play.
He was so good.
Spoke about the 2-on-1 that he saved there that looked a try for all money. You know what? It didn't look a try for all money because how easily he defended it. There was the one where he took Val Holmes out, you mentioned as well. But there were so many moments in this game from him that there was one where he was caught turning in and Hammer got in his outside and I went, okay, cool. There's a 2-on-1, they're away and gone. Critter somehow managed to turn around and get to Hammer and make the tackle. I'm like, no one does that to Hammer.
Yeah. What about his early in the game, his bump on Hammer, I think it was. Just a complete bump. I don't think, did they score off it? Like they got close to scoring potentially, but it was a complete one-on-one bump on Hammer. You never see that with Hammer in Origin. Like Tommy Turbo was marked up against Hammer and not done that. So Critter.
And then the try assist for Zack Lomax, obviously very controversial, but that right foot step he put on Val,
man.
mate, Val, I'd say clutching at air, but he was about a metre from him. Like, he didn't get near him.
What an incredible match from Stephen Crichton. I'm just so, you can build a Blues dynasty around this bloke. That's how big of it, that's just what he did on the field. Imagine all the energy he brought off the field. Imagine all the morale, the spirit. An incredible game from Critter. Look, if you're doubting me, please go back and watch that game and watch Critter closely. The amount of defence he did at a high click against one of the best attacking, we're talking about the Hammer here. Arguably the best attacking weapon in the competition with ball in hand. A lot of the times Hammer was just like running out of room, taking Val Holmes out. An absolutely incredible game from Crichton.
Well, Hammer's been scoring Origin tries for fun since he debuted.
Yeah.
And he just shut him down.
Completely. It was just a masterclass. The next man I want to talk about is Lomax. My God. I want to go back a week ago and punch myself in the dick 3 times because I even thought about picking Tommy Turbo instead of Zack Lomax. I'm an idiot.
Can you give me a little love tap while you're there?
All of us. We are idiots. Laurie Daly, he made the right call, whether Tommy was fit or not fit. Zack Lomax was absolutely phenomenal. 2 tries, and that last catch, when have we seen... The last time we saw a catch like that was a guy called Israel Folau, I think in his debut series. Now, Izzy Folau was a little bit better, but a catch of that kind of stature. Your hand out with one hand, bringing it back in, and then ability to offload it over top. Then Connor Watson finds a way to offload with all these Queenslanders on him. Once again, Connor Watson comes on the field. He makes an impact. Zack Lomax has arrived. He has truly cemented himself as an Origin winger, as an Australian winger. What an amazing performance. And that's the 2 tries. We're not even talking about the fact he ran for over 200 metres. What a performance from Lomax.
Again, as I said, he's so, one of the greatest players we've ever seen with aerial ability in the game to get over anyone that he's on. It's remarkable. And, mate, credit when due to Laurie Daly, because a few weeks ago we were sort of sitting there going, all right, if Tommy's fit and he gives you the okay that he's good to go, you pick him. And I was told that Laurie was not all in on Tommy Turbo, but going into that weekend where Lomax came back from injury, it was a bit of a three-way shootout. Tommy Turbo, Zack Lomax, Jackie Kiraz. Kiraz unfortunately got injured. Lomax came out and set the world on fire. Tommy Turbo was okay, but nowhere near his best. And Laurie went, all right, it was a shootout. Zack Lomax was the better baller. I'm picking him. He's in form. He looks fit and firing. The result was there tonight. So,
Mate.
you know, you can love a player. They can have all the runs on the board for whatever team they're playing for, rep, Australian, New South Wales club. And Laurie went, no, I'm picking the informed player.
Man.
To be, as he said he was going to do, he picked the informed Zack Lomax.
Outstanding. Like Lomax said, look, even after the selection table, I remember speaking to Matty going, man, I think I made the wrong call here with Zachy Lomax. As soon as I saw him run out that weekend, I was like, yep, he's got to be the Blues winger. He was just, like, the fact that he can offer you, you know, usually when you get a 200-plus metre winger, you're sacrificing a guy that can break a game open with tries, you know, with aerial crazy tries and offloads and flick passes. With Zack Lomax, from a wing perspective, you are sacrificing nothing. Like, he has everything you could ever dream a winger would have. Size, power, speed, flair, the ability to break games open, good under the high ball. Like, honestly, if you were to be honest, what would you add to Lomax's game right now? Like, what would you add? What could you add?
Nothing.
Literally nothing.
He's the winger's prototype.
Like, he is seriously the prototype of the perfect winger right now.
He could have kicked that goal at the end for my third class. But look, aside from that, but we talk at nauseum, Kempy, and like any sort of avid rugby league follower would understand we're talking about the importance of the back three and yardage. And I sound like a broken record in the importance of it, but it's one thing to say, all right, Lomax, Toto, they run for 200 metres each, and you get this. And that was the big advantage on paper that the Blues had going into this game over the Maroons, was our back three and our yardage getting out of trouble. It's one thing to get yourself in position, to take the ball on the full and get those strong kick returns and get those metres up and get your metres up over 200. But it's the ones where they did kick there and jammed us down our corner and you went, shit, how are we going to get out of this? The ability of our back three, and in particular Zack Lomax, to get in between defenders, find his front, and get a quick play of the ball and just get us rolling rather than the Maroons the whole game. When we jammed you down there, it was just body after body belting you, turning you around, slow play ball, and you're going, and then you've got, funnily enough, Cam Munster was your long kicking game and your main kicker in the game in this one, trying to kick you out of trouble, Because
we'll get
Lomax,
to that. Why was Munster kicking?
Toto, Edwards and Lomax just finding their front in between defenders. It's like, it's little things, but it sets up the whole game.
It sets up the whole game. That first tackle sets the tone of the set. And the difference between Queensland and New South Wales is the first tackle for New South Wales was a quick play the ball, and the first tackle for Queensland was a slow play the ball. The whole set changes from that point on. And what's even better for New South Wales, if the first tackle is somehow slow, then Toto would come in and make it fast. It was just they nailed their game plan. If everyone going into it was they need big meters from their wingers. Guess what? Both wingers, not just one, both wingers ran for 200 meters plus. That is executing a game plan literally perfectly. And the fact that they can do it on such a consistent basis. Like right now, Brian Toto, and under the high ball he had some issues tonight, but right now Brian Toto is averaging more than 200 metres a game in Origin.
Mate, Lomax and Toto were both, that was their second game back from 6-week layoffs. 6 weeks. It's not a minor little hammy, twinge or car twinge. You have a week off, get it right. 6 weeks off. That is pretty major. One game back each. That was 200. The second game.
200 metres each. What do you reckon about Zack Lomax, Matty?
Yeah, I am with you about because I remember last year it was the same thing. At the selection table, I didn't pick him. Guru picked him. I thought, I'm not too sure. I remember thinking after game one, wow, never made that mistake again. Here I am a year later, made that mistake again. Will never make it again. Zack Lomax has locked his place in this team for the next few years. And he is built for Origin.
Yeah, we are witnessing a bloke reach his potential. We are finally seeing everything that, Brad Fittler talked about in the early days, call him the gifted one and all that talk, and he had all this potential. When the greats really rate a kid, they can see something that a lot of us aren't seeing. And we're finally seeing it with Zack Lomax. What is he, 26, 27 now? Probably 27 max. He's still got plenty of years left in him at Origin level. And
he's 25.
He's 25 years old. 25. So you got Critter at 24. And this is what's scary about this Blues, the prospect of this Blues side. This is a young side. This is a young side, and for the first time ever in history, I think they said it on the TV, that's what I think I heard, it's the first time a team has had no debutants in the starting side for the Blues. And I know, Freddie cops a lot of crap for like his, tenure of the Blues, but he has a big hand in the fact that all these players are so young still, because he debuted 11 players that year?
11 players in Game 1 2018.
And you're seeing the benefit of it now, because right now, you've got a whole back line where the oldest bloke is probably Dylan Edwards at 28 or something like that, 29.
I think the stat was every player had played over 100 NRL games.
And they're still young. And they're still young. Cleary, he's 26, 27 years old. Moses just hit 30. You have still got at least 3 or 4 years. Then you got Katoa coming through. You got plenty of other guys coming through that can play in the halves there. And so Zack Lomax, for me, what an incredible, he really does remind me a version of Matt Cooper at his best. I really see, and you could argue even better. You could argue he has had better games than Matt Cooper at his best. Or Gaznia at his best as well. When you guys used to have those two big outside backs that would just cause us absolute problems as Queenslanders, Zack Lomax is like that. I mean, you could argue that he's had that those guys haven't had this good of a game in Origin, and I'd have to go back and check. You'd probably know better. But, I mean, there's no way they could have had better. Like, the game that Lomax had tonight...
Mate, Lomax has gone 4 from 4. He hasn't had a single bad game in Origin. He's been outstanding.
Mental. And that's he does remind me of those days of your Cooper and all those boys.
Cooper Gaz, arguably the greatest centre pairing of all time.
Yeah, it does begin to, and I know he's a winger, but he just, for some reason, he moves a bit like him. But an incredible performance from Lomax, and he's just getting started. That's the scary thing. This bloke is just getting started. It's his 4th game. In all 4 games, he's been in the top 5 players on the field. Arguably even top 3 if you wanted to.
I reckon that's very conservative.
Yeah, you could say top 3. What a performance. And to think that Lomax and Critter are on one side like that, just doing what they're doing, it's a scary combination that could be together for 5 years. More. It could be together for 10 years if they stayed till 35. Think about the combination that they can build together over the next 4 or 5 years.
You lock Latrell and Toto on the left edge. Latrell's 27. What's Toto? 25 or something? 26?
Yeah, 26 or so.
Not real old. They can be potentially edges for the next 5 years. And if they stay fit, why wouldn't they be, really?
Imagine the damage Critter and Lomax are going to do together for the next 5 years. It is just scary, scary stuff. What a performance. Now, let's talk about Payne Haas. My God. For a few years there, he never played poorly in Origin, but he was so young, so young. Think about being a front rower and being thrown into the Origin arena. It's crazy to think that. 10 games? What was it? 10 games and he got thrown into the Origin arena?
10 games.
As a front rower. But you are now seeing the dividends of that, because he was the big dog on the field. He was the big dog, and no one went with him. He took the game by the scruff of the neck. He challenged the opposition and said, let's do this. And they didn't go with him. They did not go with him. Payne Haas dominated that. He is now already cemented himself as one of the best club front rowers, in my opinion, of the modern era. He is now writing an Origin legacy as not only an enforcer, but the big dog and the alpha dog in the Origin arena. He was absolutely phenomenal.
And people are all sitting there waiting for Nathan Cleary to have his breakout series that he grabs by the scruff of the neck and cements his legacy as potentially the greatest halfback of all time if he can start stringing them together and putting Blue series wins on board. I'm sort of sitting there leading into the series going, what about Payne Haas trying to cement his legacy as the greatest front row of all time and grab an Origin by the scruff of the neck? And he was really good for us last year. But this game, you could tell from the moment he went out there, Kempy, that he just went, I'm the best forward on this field.
Yeah.
No one can stop me. No matter what I do, I've got the size, I've got the mobility, I've got the footwork. He was absolutely devastating, and he didn't try and come with big plays and big offloads. It was just
mature.
He's so composed.
Yep. 58 minutes in an Origin, and he's pumping out those numbers at that size and never looked gassed.
That 30-minute stint at the start, Queensland did not even get close in that first 30 minutes, and that was all off the back of Payne Haas.
Mate, he is just so good. And that's, we spoke about before the game, either Tino or Haas, and I actually thought Tino was one of our better players, but either Tino or Haas are really going to start to write their Origin stories. But, geez, if this isn't one of the, if the first chapter was the 10 games thrown into Origin, and the second chapter was last series where I thought he was really good. This chapter is now, it's getting to the meaty part of the book of he's going to start to really shine on the Origin stage, really to a point where you can't ignore him. Like, he won Man of the Match from Channel 9. Like, front rower wins Man of the Match at 25 years old, 26 years old. Actually, Matty, could you just look at his last 3 Origins? I think he's averaging now, in his last 4 games, something like 150 metres or so in the front row, which is an outstanding performance for Payne Haas. And again, the scary thing for the Maroons is this is a young New South Wales side. We're not talking about a guy that's 29, 28, 30 or whatever. We're talking about a guy that's not even in his athletic prime yet. 27 for a front rower is when he's probably going to get to his athletic prime. And he's already doing this. What a performance. Incredible stuff. Really, really good. And I just can't wait to see where he goes from this. And right now, you'd have to say he'd be one of the favourites for the Wally Lewis medal. Like, you'd have to say that. And if he can win that Wally Lewis medal in the front row, like at 25 years old, 26, like what a feat.
Well, the thing about it is moving forward, Payne Haas doesn't play bad games of footy.
And he doesn't.
You really know that at the very least, he's going to put up good numbers and play 2 good games of footy. Whether the Blues can win another game and get the series done, time will tell. But if they do, Payne Haas plays 2 good games of footy, and now he's got a man of the match behind his belt to get himself going. So
he just needs to have 1 game in the next 2 games. It's great, really, and he'll probably get it. What do you got
In
there,
his
man?
last 6 games, he's averaging in the high 140s.
In Origin.
In Origin, yeah.
Compared to other front rowers, that's incredible. So Payne Haas in Origin, in the Origin arena where a lot of forwards struggle to get over that 100 mark, he's averaging 140 in the last 6 games.
Almost 150.
Far out. That's incredible. That's incredible. What an absolute machine. And what's so special about this is, for Blues anyway, they didn't even play their best footy.
They didn't.
They really didn't. Like, their forwards did. They laid a great platform. But they actually left quite a few points on the field, in my opinion. Obviously, like, if Cleary kicks every goal, they win, 36 to 32 to 8 or something like that. Like, that's what the real score was, really, 32 to 8.
I thought even like
32 to 6.
Yeah, 32 to 6.
I felt like even the in-game kicking, it was okay, but both Moses and Cleary had a couple that were off. Like, I know Moses put one really deep in goal out of nowhere at one point, turned over a 7-tackle set. You add in like the bizarre sin bin on top of it as well. A couple of potentially missed opportunities. Like, it was scratching the surface. It was at Suncorp Stadium.
Yeah, like
the fortress.
I've got to ask you, boys, has the myth, the intimidation, the legend of the Suncorp gone to the Blues? As Suncorp, the scary place, does this generation no longer fear Suncorp? Because at the moment, this Blues side, they didn't look rattled. They didn't look at all negative. They didn't look nervous. They looked like they were up there playing on any ground anywhere in the country. I wonder whether this Blues generation has said, nah, we don't believe in that shit. We're not going to buy into it. It's the first time they've won back-to-back since the 90s. They didn't look rattled. They've done it at the first opportunity they've got to essentially win it back-to-back. They've done it. I think there's a big question to be asked. That legend and that fear that Suncorp used to hold for the Blues, they may not feel that this generation.
I don't think the legend of Suncorp is dead, and I don't think that intimidation factor is dead. When you've got 52,000 Queenslanders screaming at everything you do, there's no way that cannot intimidate you. I just think you've got a pretty special bunch of Blues players that are so confident in their ability to get the job done and not get overwhelmed by the occasion. I just think you've got like Zack Lomax, Latrell Mitchell, the boys to come out of Penrith that are just so uber confident in their ability to get the job done. I think that's why it appeared as if they're not intimidated by that Suncorp factor.
So I don't think they fear it. I don't think this generation fear it. You got guys that have won 4 premierships. Like, you've got such a roster that's had such big moments. You got to remember, in 2020 or whatever, they won like 3 games in Queensland. I don't think this generation, I think they respect it. I think they're nervous. I definitely think they know it's going to be a very, very tough challenge. But I don't think they fear it the same way, and understandably so. It's 8 in a row, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think they fear it the same way.
And the Blues went into this game as favourites, not huge favourites, but the balance there and the challenge for even Loz going into game 2 is, mate, as a Blues supporter, even Matty and I sat there and we felt so comfortable the whole time, but we're still sitting there just going like, this has gone wrong so many times before. They found a way to balance and channel this confidence. Like, no, we'll win. We're too good for them because we've seen complacent Blues sides get done time and time again over the years. This side, they just looked unflustered. And
they just beat Queensland in Brisbane, game 1, Suncorp.
and that complacency didn't lead to, when you're 12 points up, a chip chase over the top to try and, just pull a rabbit out of the bag and get your highlight reel moment, or an offload out the bat to try and get your highlight reel moment. I don't want to compare it to Penrith because they're worlds apart and they're very different things, but it's what Penrith have done at club level for so many years. They've backed their ability. They've had this confidence in their game plan and they stick to their game plan. That's what the Blues did in this, and they didn't digress from it or try and do anything different to what they had planned going out in the first minute of the game.
Yeah, I agree with it. I think they stuck to it. I think they tweaked the Penrith style to a degree. We'll get to Isaiah Yeo, which I thought he was outstanding. I think that not enough was made about Nathan Cleary and these really good players being coached by Craig Bellamy. Like, okay, it's great what they've done in Penrith, but Bellamy is one of the greatest coaches of all time. He gets his hands on guys like Cleary, on guys like Yeo. All of a sudden, Yeo, he's not passing the ball at all. He's running like a front rower. All of a sudden, Cleary, he's running a lot more as well. I genuinely believe that, the Bellamy factor probably wasn't spoken about enough. I think that he had a real impact on this. To take absolutely nothing away from Laurie Daly, he deserves a lot of credit. He's the one that brought Bellyache in. But we're talking about bringing one of the greatest coaches of all time, and people try to point to his Origin resume and say, it's not. It's like, come on, mate. Anyone can lose in Origin. Wayne Bennett's lost in Origin. What do you reckon, matey? Do you reckon this generation fears Suncorp like the old generation did?
It's a great question because my initial reaction is no, because of just what we've seen in the last, since I was born, basically. But I think, not so much this game, but the last game last year, where they just showed no fear in that game, the Blues. They didn't let in a try, and they've backed it up. They've backed it up now, but again, my initial reaction is no, but what do you say? They've come out and put in two. I know they didn't dominate last year, but they didn't let a try in.
They've gone from winning a decider at Suncorp to winning game 1 at Suncorp. And the game 1 that they did win they were in total control.
I think it's so interesting that casting my back to 2023 game 2, where Queensland won game 1, and then it was one of the most dominant Queensland wins, in this current crop. And that had, I'll read it out: Brian To'o, Crichton, Moses, Robson, Haas, Hudson Young, Yeo, and Liam Martin from that team. They look worlds away from that. They got bullied that game. They were shocking. And 2 years later, they've won a decider up there with the same crop of people. And now this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I genuinely think this current crop, because they've now had 2 wins there, I don't think they fear it as much. They definitely respect it. They definitely are nervous and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that they walk in just, all willy-nilly. But for example, I don't think Critter goes into Suncorp going, oh, crap, oh, shit, this is intimidating, whatever.
They certainly don't play like they're intimidated.
They don't play like it. And so I think that's something that Queensland are going to want to kind of really try to reel in and get that kind of that legend back, that fear back, that Suncorp's a cauldron. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because you've gone back-to-back the first time since in the 90s.
In the late 90s, yeah.
Let's talk about Isaiah Yeo. We've been speaking about this for years. In Origin, we want Isaiah Yeo to just straighten it up, run first, play like a front rower, and that's exactly what he did, and he looked absolutely phenomenal for me. I loved that from Isaiah Yeo. I love the fact that you could see a clear tweak in both Cleary and Isaiah Yeo's game plan, and that's where I do think Bellyache has probably sat down with them, with Laurie Daly, and said, boys, here's where we need to make a few tweaks here to your Penrith style. So keep some of the Penrith style for sure. It wins premierships. It's all good. But just a tiny tweak here or there, and look at the difference it made. Isaiah Yeo was unbelievable. He was outstanding in the middle there.
Three passes, whole game.
3 passes the whole game. And he ended up running 4. So he played 57 minutes, 13 runs, 147 metres. So he averaged more than 10 metres a run, 68 post-contact, and 5 tackle breaks.
And we spoke about Kempy leading it in the preview of Origin 1, talking about, all right, we named it 13, what sort of role is he going to play? Don't fall into not the Penrith trap, but the club level trap that we've fallen into in the past of a ball playing Isaiah Yeo at lock.
Yep.
How impactful he's been just as playing as a front rower in Origin when Cam Murray's been there and been our 13. You go back to that dark series that the Blues will never forget in 2023. Game 1, 26-18 loss. Game 2, 32-6 loss. in those games, Matty just mentioned he had 3 passes in this game. Those games, 17 passes and 13 passes.
Wow.
That is a completely different role.
Yep.
That is Kempy when we speak week in, week out doing the Monday review show about the different types of lock. Do you want a ball playing lock? Do you want a running lock? It is that. And Isaiah, not every player can do it.
Yeah.
Certainly not every player can go from being a ball running lock as another prop to a ball playing lock. Isaiah Yeo has gone from, arguably the best ball playing lock we've ever seen and reinvented that role to a dominant, essentially third prop in Origin.
Yeah, and it just shows his versatility. Like how versatile he is that. And think about how much extra stress that puts on the Queensland defence that you've got Haas, Barnett, and Yeo all running like front rowers. Like that's an extra, that's a whole extra gun player, golden boot winner you've got to worry about. That's not just passing constantly, not just going from edge to edge. Just a really good performance. What do you think of Isaiah Yeo, Matty?
Yeah, I think the first 20 minutes kind of showed it all. He had more dominant runs in that first 20 than as many dominant runs as Payne Haas, I reckon. Every time he got the ball, and it shows in his stats, 13 metres for 150 metres. Every run he did, he just tucked the ball under and was completely dominant. And that's what we wanted to see. That's why it was so good last year. And I know we don't want to look into next year, but once we get Cam Murray back, it's going to be insane.
Well, I mean, when you get Cam Murray back, you can put Yeo and Haas in the front row and you can bring Barnett off the bench going skits. Like, far out.
Hassan Yeo not missing a tackle in Origin is so absurd, but you expect nothing less with them.
Yeah, I know. Like
They're
if
that good.
If I looked down and had 5 missed tackles from Yeo, I'd be going, what happened?
Yeah.
What has happened? But usually in Origin, when you get a player that doesn't miss a tackle and he makes 30 tackles, 40 tackles, that's just their job. Is they're these dogs in defence and that's all they do. They're also the best attacking forwards on the field as well. Just an outstanding performance. I mean, to be honest, there wasn't anyone that really played poorly for the Blues. Yeah, there was some errors. You had the Toto dropped a couple of balls, but look, if he's going to run for 220 metres, look, fuck, I'm taking that. I'm taking that.
Brian Toe is phenomenal. It never ceases to amaze me. Every time he comes up against Xavier Coach, you go, oh my goodness, what a mismatch. When we look at Lomax as a kicking option, an aerial target, we just go to him, there'll be success. And you go, Lomax will have a field day over Brian Toto. But the way he uses his body, the way he uses his strength, he's just unflappable. But at the end of the day, it's still Xavier Coates coming over the top of you. Sure, he dropped 2 balls. He'll be filthy with himself, but a small blip on an otherwise great night.
It shows you how good he is that we're he dropped 2 balls with Xavier Coates coming at him. I thought in attack he was great. I thought Dylan Edwards played his role perfectly. Actually ended up the game with a try and a try assist, 120 metres. But I'm going to talk about Nathan Cleary because this is going to get lost in the noise. And I know people are going to say, you're giving Cleary too much credit, but I don't care. This is just how I feel about the situation. Yes, was his converting poor? Yes, it was. Were there a couple of kicks in the game that weren't pinpoint? I thought Cleary with ball in hand was outstanding in this game. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I thought his running game was a constant threat. He looked in control. He looked like easily the best half on the field. I thought he had a really bloody good game for the Blues outside of his converting.
Yeah, there'll be people out there that go to the stat sheet and go, Nathan Cleary, no line break assist, no line breaks, no try assist. Jam that up your backside.
He had 10 tackle breaks.
Mate, his running game in this was phenomenal and his ball playing just as good. He essentially had 3 try assists, put it that way. The 3 tries we scored, and I think all the ones in the first half, he had an integral part, and he threw the ball out the back to Dill Edwards, the Latrell Mitchell tip-on play. This is so ridiculous to say, but when I saw him going to line, I'm like, oh my God, that was Isaiah Katoa-esque. The way he went in shape one way, shape the other way, went bang out the back. He created all that space.
Yep.
He gave Latrell that quarter of a second, which is all Latrell needs with a rushing defender to catch, pass, bang, Toto in the corner.
Yep.
That's all that it took. Mate, Nathan Cleary was outstanding. It was one of his, whilst there wasn't the big clean line break and in space, it was one of his better running games in Origin I've seen in a long, long time. Don't look at the stat sheet with him. Don't be misled by the fact that his boot was off. He was terrific.
He was terrific, and he looked in control. He looked confident. He looked like he was demanding the ball, getting his troops around. Compared to the opposition, he was the only one that looked like the big dog on the field. He really did. It's the first time I've really watched Cleary and said, you know what? He's the main man on the field right now. He is the best 7 on the field right now. He's had games where you've had these big blowout wins, 44-2 and 44-10 or whatever. But this was a game where he had everything in control. Field position, he had control. Like, think about the fact that New South Wales had 60% possession in the first half. Your 7 has a lot to do with that. Your 7 has a lot to do with that. What did you reckon of Cleary's game, Matty?
I was very, very curious coming to the game with Moses and Cleary coming together. Like, what percentage difference is it going to be? Like, is it going to be 50-50? Is it going to be 70-30? 10 or 15 minutes in, you knew this is Cleary's team.
Yeah.
He took full control. I know he had a terrible night with the boot, kicking conversions, and it was a scrappy game in some sense for most of the game. But Cleary, he just took the game by the scruff and he just took control, and that's all we wanted from him.
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic. I
agree, and we might be witnessing what everyone's been calling for with Cleary. You don't need to be. Don't say it.
You don't
need to be Joey or anything like that, but you need to just dominate a series. And game one for me, it's a tick for me. It's an absolute tick for me with Cleary. He dominated the game. He dominated the pace of the game, the tempo of the game, the field position.
I tell you what, and sometimes when I watch Cleary in Origin years gone past, I've thought, geez, didn't see Cleary for 10 minutes, didn't see Cleary for 15 minutes. He was in the frame for the entire 80 minutes today. He was trying and trying and trying. Yeah, I thought it was far different to his other games.
Well, think about, like, we would literally sitting there watching saying, where's DCE been? Like,
exactly.
Like DCE has not been in this game at all. Matter of fact, Munster was doing more kicking than DCE. Like, what's with that? Like, was he injured? Whereas Cleary, it was extremely clear that it was the Blues. Cleary was his side.
Yeah. And to play absolute devil's advocate, boys, the joy of playing behind a forward pack that's win in the middle. Like, they had the ruck speed, they had the play the ball speed, and he had time to run and play the game on his own terms. And we look at Munster, and we'll get to Ches shortly. He fair dinkum went missing. Munster had a crack, but Munster just had nothing to run off. No play the ball speed through the middle, no momentum. The Blues had it, but they made the most of it.
Yeah, look. Of course, in Origin, you're going to need your forward pack to bloody get
in any game
momentum.
of football.
Yeah, so it's like, I just think Cleary is really good. I think Moses, although you could say he was relatively close, well, he made one really good one-on-one tackle on, was it Nanai or was it?
It was on Nanai on his own line. It was incredible. Early on.
He did a couple of defensive plays in the first half.
But you know what? I've got much admiration for Moses. He took such a back. It was not about Mitchell Moses. He really took such a backward step with Cleary and just allowed him to dominate possession, dominate control. I'd love to see how many touches he had compared to Cleary.
I get that. They linked up nicely for that Latrell tip-on ball as well, which was delightful to see. So 62 receipts, touches for Cleary, 41 to Moses.
Yes,
like, huge difference.
Huge difference, which is probably what you want. And as I said, I love the fact he put his own ego aside. He's already gone up and dominated not dominated, but got the win up in Suncorp. But he said, no, that's not my role here. I'll take the step back. I will say, though, and I spoke about this heading into the series, like, a lot of people are talking about Moses' running game, but it's actually Cleary's running game that, Queensland have to worry about. And what do you know? 20 runs, 137 metres, 10 tackle breaks, Nathan Cleary. 3 offloads, 22 tackles, 0 missed. What a game.
Yeah, I did find one thing interesting, not that it mattered in the end, but I thought they may have played Moses on the right, Cleary on the left, purely for the boot of Mitch Moses in that long kicking game. And I said, I don't think the kicking game was at their best, either of them in this game. Cleary kicked for 445 metres in his preferred position on the right foot kicker, suits well. Moses on the left kicked for 167 metres. So you're talking about taking a back seat, mate. The biggest asset of Mitch Moses' game is his long kicking game. That took a back seat because he was forced to play on the left-hand side of the field where he didn't have that easy access and entry point for that long kicking game.
Yeah.
So, mate, that's an even bigger one. And obviously they've kept Cleary there for a number of reasons, and I would imagine the big one was probably just the defensive combination and attacking with Liam Martin.
Yeah.
But
mate,
that's
Liam
another
Martin.
spot Mitch Moses taking a back seat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like it because I've always said you can't go half-assed in with Cleary. You either give him the team or he shouldn't even be there. And I like that Laurie Daly said this is 1,000,000% your team. And, the issue before was kind of like Cleary-Teddy, like whose team was it? Teddy was the captain. He'd been there before. He'd won his series. Whereas like tonight, there was no confusion. There was no overcalling, none of that. It was purely Cleary's team. And I think it's smart. In regards to Liam Martin's defence, geez, his defence was so strong in contact. He was so good, and it was such a good balance because you had Liam Martin's great defence and Angus Crichton's really strong attack. Once again, Angus Crichton runs for like 150 metres or whatever. He is so strong in contact, but they just balance. They're just yin and yang. Angus Crichton and Liam Martin, they are just so well balanced as back row.
Well, is there a better side in rugby league, not if you're the bloke catching the ball, but than Liam Martin just flying like Superman his way into the defender? There's that one, and it was a bit of a stalemate early on in the game, Kempy. Like, the first try wasn't until the 24th minute. Neither side really looked like busting the line. It was Angus Crichton out of nothing who went through. I'll need to go back and watch the highlights. Game's obviously just finished. Went through someone, popped a mad offload to I think Mitchy Moses, who strung away. Might have been a tackle, and that ended up in that try in the right corner to Zack Lomax. Angus Crichton, when no one could bust the line, it was him that busted the game wide open.
Yeah, he's just that back row is so bloody good.
I love that we're at a point now with Liam Martin that we don't even look at how he's playing for Penrith. He just steps up in those. He was the best player in the grand final, him and Yo. And then, half of Penrith haven't been good this year. He's actually been all right, but no one even doubts his spot anymore. No one bothers looking at the stat sheet. He just turns up and he rips in.
To your point, Matty, I hadn't even looked at it because Liam Martin, you just don't. It was tremendous tonight. 5 runs for 38 metres.
Yep.
It's just 42 tackles. He had 1 miss. Like, it just doesn't matter.
42 tackles, 1 miss on the edge.
Yeah.
Far out in Origin. Oh my God, that is insane. Like on the other edge, Crichton, 29 tackles, 5 misses.
Yeah.
And like 40 fucking 2 misses.
And the one that Martin would have missed, it was the one where he Supermaned, I think, and tried to kill someone. And just
Probably. So great game. Really, really good game. Max King. I thought Max King was great.
I thought he was great.
Mate, he came on, he played 40 minutes. He ran for over 100 metres, which is good in Origin, 106 metres. He made 21 tackles, 0 misses. Just a good knock from Max King. I think Daly, it was controversial, whatever, but you couldn't ask much more of Max King. He came on, he did his bloody job, he got through his work. What a good story. What a good story for Max King.
Yeah, it was the one potential weak spot in our roster and our lineup going into the game. You went, all right, our middle forward coming on. We know the role Spencer Leniu will play, but we know that'll be in limited minutes, and it was in 26 minutes. Hudson Young came on and played a good role through the middle in 26 as well. But it was like, who's going to be that other in 4? So they don't have to come on and change the game or any of that, but just do a job and be reliable. Mate, Max King did not miss a beat.
No, didn't look out of place. Nothing, just went on, did his job, played really well. I thought Barnett, especially his first stint, unsung hero. Like, there's all the talk about, your Haasses, your Tinos, and your other forwards. But Barnett, 42 minutes, 12 runs, 110 metres, 26 tackles. Like, he just flies under the radar so often with these other players, but he was bloody outstanding, Barnett.
Well, when you're, no matter how good you play or what you do, when you're a front row pair with Payne Haas, you're going to be overlooked every single time. Yeah. But again, played his role perfectly for us. That first 20 minutes, he did the job, and there was a bit of chat of, do you bring Barnett off the bench as a bit of impact? Just Max King, let him do the hard yards early on. It was like, nah, we're sticking with Barnett. He's had his series. He's now regular this team, and again, another one. I would say this about 8 or 17 players in the team. No one missed an assignment at all.
No one. It's such a strong performance. The only thing it was just missing the conversions. If they convert every conversion, everyone's sitting there going, completely dominant performance. Like, a little bit clunky and messy towards the end, but I think both teams got a little bit messy towards the end. Maybe that was fatigue.
It was one of them ones, Kempy, where, like, as a Blues fan, and I know because I've seen it so many times before in the past, where scorelines narrowed late in games, and there's just that subconscious going into it of, was it a blowout? Was it a tight affair? Like, Maroons were attacking the line late. If they got over for a little 18-12, all right, the result was pretty tight. Like, it wasn't. That can play a factor going into game 2, but I think, the 12-point margin, the Blues, they'll be going, no, we can better that.
Okay, some negative chat. Ref, put the whistle away. My God. What are we... Like... We've got this great spectacle, and he blew like nearly 11 penalties in the first half. Like, put it away, mate.
3 in the first 6 minutes.
3 in the first 6 minutes for nothing, for holding the face. Like, put it away. What a joke. And, like, I am not complaining because Queensland could have won. No way. New South Wales were easily the better side. But you ruined the flow of the game, and just put it away. In the end, it ended up with... if you count like 6 agains, inside 10s and everything like that, end up with what, 15,
18,
17, then you've got 19, 20.
20.
20. So you've got 8 on one side And then,
Jeez.
sorry, 21. So what, 6, 1, 1, which is 8, plus 9 plus 2 is 11, plus 2 again is 13. So you got 21 in an Origin game. Remember back 2023? There was like 4 or 5 penalties either side for the whole game.
No, it was less than that. It was less. It was 3-2 or something.
Whatever it was, put it away. It's a joke. Stop ruining the pinnacle of sport for nothing penalties. Holding the face in Origin a penalty. Get over it. Like it drives me insane. You are not helping anyone with those calls. You're hurting our game with just terrible reffing. Like, just let it go. Stop making it about... Like, the ref is there to create an environment for the best version of rugby league to be played. Don't make it about you. It's all about you controlling the game, you dictating how you want it to be played. It's just so annoying.
Talk about taking the wind out of the sail in that first 5 minutes. You're like... I don't think I've ever been less on edge for a first 15, 20 minutes of Origins off the back of the 3 penalties in that first 5 minutes. I said, the one where it was like a bit of attention to the head, it's like, oh my God, this is state of Origin. Like, please. If it's a penalty where it's a player leaving the line early and getting a genuine disadvantage, call it. If it's a higher shot, to a lesser degree, call it, but whatever. But for a bit of like a hand in the face or a little thing here or a fraction of a second too long on the play the ball, like, mate, whichever way it goes, it's state of Origin.
It's state of Origin. Just the first 10 minutes, let the game flow. Unless there is, like, as you said, a head high, there's a hard contact or whatever, or they're really holding down. I just thought, just really poor, really disappointing because you're all amped up that first, and then it's penalty. Another penalty. And it sucks the whole life out of the game.
I just had a look. So 2023 grand final, this is including 6 agains. It's 3-all in the whole game. And in this game, there was 4 penalties, not 6 agains, 4 penalties by the 10th minute.
Honestly, terrible.
And then there was one where Lomax got taken above the horizontal, probably the first true penalty of the game.
Get a penalty.
And they didn't blow it. It
Didn't
just
get a
makes
penalty.
no sense.
Okay, let's talk about the 10 in the bin just quickly. By these rules, it's 10 in the bin. It is. I hate that rule, though. Like, if you are in your own goal and there's a cross-field kick, like, you should be able to try to tackle them while you're both in the air. And I don't mean you should be able to intentionally, take them out so they can't get a grab at it. But I just think if you're both going for the ball, I don't know. I do think they need to look at that. They need to change it. There's a lot of people argument saying, look, there's been tackles in the air where it hasn't been 10 in the bin. I think what made this a 10 in the bin was because I think if we're all being honest, if he doesn't grab him before the ball arrives, he probably does catch it. By the letter of the law, it was 10 in the bin in my opinion, but I don't like that penalty. I just think you've got to give wingers an opportunity to defend cross-field kicks. What do you reckon, Timmy?
It sucks, mate, especially, again, some of the names you've mentioned already tonight and that aerial ability and the calibre of winger these days. Like, yeah, good luck. They're going to catch the ball every time. Like, it sucks. By letter of the law, I think it was a sin bin. And as you said, Campy, it's because he went into the tackling action before Xavier Coates had caught the ball. If Xavier Coates had caught the ball, they were in the air and he started tackling him. No, but essentially he's tackled without the ball.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it's 100% a sin bin because if they're on the ground and they were going for the ball and Toto took him out, it's a sin bin.
Without the
It's
ball.
the same thing. It's a professional foul.
I don't like how any tackling in the air is a penalty.
Yeah.
I think that if you're tackling a bloke as he just gets it in the air, I don't think that should be a penalty. But
I don't think it should be a penalty if you've got the ball. If you've got the attack, if you're attacking, like you should be able to, like they changed that rule a few years ago where the attacking player can get taken out in the air now, can't get taken out in the air anymore. I don't know why they changed it.
Yeah.
Tackle them to make it legal.
Yeah.
Don't put him in a dangerous position.
Yeah. By the letter of law, it was a penalty. And I think the clincher is he was before he had hold of the ball.
That's it to me.
That's it.
Nothing else.
That's what the sin bin was
that's
for.
the key.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to have a look at this rule and get it a bit fairer on defences. Because at the moment, like you've both just got to go up for it and do your best, and then you've just got to let him score if he gets it. Like,
Also, let's look at the longevity of the game. All right, it's hard enough, near impossible for a small winger to make it in the current climate of the NRL. If you're going to do that and you're going to put a Xavier Coates on any slightly smaller winger in the NRL, it's like, all right, good luck. Like, not going to happen because they'll jump ahead, they'll catch him, and they'll just game over.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I do believe it was a sin bin. I do believe it was a penalty. I just think it's an area of the game we need to clean up. I really do. But what's crazy is we're not even talking about it. Blues lost a bloke for 10 minutes and they still dominated Queensland. That's how dominant they were. Yeah. Think about it. You lost a bloke for 10 in the bin and we haven't even spoken about that yet. Incredible performance. Really, really good. Anything else on the Blues, boys?
I mean, I think Laurie Daly worked the bench perfectly. Maxie King got 40 minutes, about the same as Mitchie Barnett. Huddy Young and Spence, they got their 20, 25 minutes. And then Connor Watson, he only played 16 minutes. It looked like he was out in the field for half an hour, the amount of touches that he got. I reckon, full credit to Laurie there. He worked his bench brilliantly. Yeah,
huge credit. And Huddy had one, silly offload, but it was in good ball. And, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it there. He'd bumped a few players. Outside of that, I thought he was great. He definitely added a lot of impact.
Mate, what do you want off your bench, especially when it's a player playing 25, 26 minutes? You want impact. He brought impact. He came on. He made good yardage through the middle, a lot of quick play. The balls, probably forced that offload for an error. Could have held on to it. But, as you said, Kev, he turned it over in the right position in the field. It wasn't come off his own line or anything like that. So, came on, again, in an unfamiliar role through the middle. He plays 80 minutes on edge every week for the Raiders. I thought he was good.
Yeah, agreed. Alrighty, before we get into Queensland, guys, join the Bloke Club to automatically go in the draw to win a Mazda BT50. It is totally free to join the Bloke Club. You go to www.bloke.club. No strings attached. It takes you 2 seconds to sign up, and you automatically go in the draw. We're drawing it in a month's time. A month. It could be someone's in the Bloke Club, a Mazda BT50. So make sure to join the Bloke Club, and we give away prizes every single month, including this. In a week's time, we're giving one lucky winner $1,000 cash. All you got to do is be a part of the Bloke Club, so join the Bloke Club, and then be following Luke Camilleri, LDC_01, because he is the one in Aspley Mazda that has provided the Mazda BT50. So give him a follow, and you automatically go in the draw to win $1,000 cash in the next 7 days. We've already given, once we give that away, that'll be $5,000 cash. We've already given away in 3 months. Every single month we give prizes away, with the Mazda BT50 being next month. And also, if you are in the hunt for a car, message Luke Camilleri, LDC_01, Bloke, or Aspley Mazda. Go in and mention Bloke. They will give you a very special end of financial year discount. And also a massive shout out to the other 180 Cadence, who are offering a $50 off the Sydney Ultra Marathon for Bloke Club members. This is their biggest discount ever. And also a massive shout out to Phrase Skincare, started by two tradies. Skincare for blokes, 20% off sale right now. And a shout out to Charity Trades, an organisation on the Central Coast that helps that need it most. Give them a contact on the Bloke Club. Okay, let's get into... and just quickly... on Code Sports, use code BLOKE, so code sports with an s.com.au/bloke. Use code BLOKE for a very special discount, $49 for the entire year. It's the best deal I think they've ever done, and it's for our audience. So use code BLOKE at codesports.com.au, the best written articles in sport in the country. Okay, and just finally, guys, on June 7th, I will be at the Wellness Warriors Gathering. It is totally free to come down. It's on June 7th. Go to warriorsgathering.com.au to register yourself. I'll be down there. Benny Hannett's going to be down there. There's going to be speeches. There's going to be yarn, have a feed together. And it's if you're struggling with mental health, or even if you just want to equip yourself to have the best version of yourself, come down, have a yarn, hang out with me. It's going to be a great day. The Wellness Warriors. It is June 7th on the Gold Coast. You don't want to miss it. Okay, on to Queensland. Really, really concerning for Queensland. They've just been dominated in Suncorp. I can't stress that enough. It is game one in Suncorp, the place where they're supposedly never beaten. And if they are beaten, it takes a heroic effort. They have just been completely dominated at Suncorp. And unfortunately, DCE, I think he is under massive amounts of pressure to keep his position, especially when Dearden came on. It looked like they had a bit of spark around the ball playing area. Really, really poor from Queensland. There was probably only, a few players that had good games. Very scrappy. Look, there was a lot of effort, a lot of heart. They defended their absolute backsides out. Yes, did they get a couple of tough calls? True, but that didn't lose them the game. Silly errors, silly decisions, clunky attack. Really, really poor showing from Queensland, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mentioned the Blues and how easy their game plan was, knowing they'd be dominant out of yardage, knowing they had the long kicking game. The Maroons couldn't rely on those things. They, they were okay through the middle in stages, but when you're in that situation, you have to find a way to bring this game back into your hands and, gain a bit of field possession. And how do you threaten and how do you turn it and how do you put points on? And that first sort of 20 minutes, mate, you were outplayed, but you dug in, as Queensland do. You got in that grind, you played a bit of footy and you used the ball early and you opened up a few half opportunities. But from there, mate, once the Blues scored that first try, the gates just opened and, between the Toto Simbin and a few soft penalties, we had about 3 or 4 sets in a row where we just had soft turnovers coming off our own line and you just threw nothing at us. The word you used there was clunky. The timing was off. Everything you did, blokes, it was like they didn't know where to be.
No direction from DCE.
No direction. It was like combinations had never played together before. It was a bit perplexing.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think a lot of it rests on DCE's shoulder. The amount of times coming out of their own end, there was no set plays to spread it. Anytime we had any luck, it was when we spread it out of our own end to get them on their back foot. But we barely tried it. We barely tried it. And I feel like there was just no direction. And unfortunately, that falls on DCE's shoulders. He's the 7. He's the most experienced. He's the captain. It just was a really poor showing from DCE. I'm very surprised. I thought if there was one thing DCE would bring, it's that. It's direction and experience. If anything, he might be a little bit old, so he's a bit off the pace, and they're a bit too big and powerful and explosive for him. But it wasn't that at all. He was just not involved in the game at all. In the first half, Munster had more long kicks than him. How does that? Munster is not known as a kicker.
Munster, not a noted, got a good decent short kicking game. Never noted for the big long kicking game. Cherry Evans has a pretty good long kicking game. Ches kicked for 262 metres. Munster 338. But Munster was taking all the big ones.
What? So what was he injured? If he was injured, surely you go with someone else at 7. Surely you get Dearden in there.
He looked like he moved fine. He looked, as you said, he just looked lost.
Yeah, he didn't look certain. There was no leadership out there. Was no direction.
There was a lot of Kempy when he's at his best, Ches, which is more often than not. He's got the ball. He's going to the line. He's playing deep. He's showing in. He's showing out. He's stepping off both feet. He'd just catch the ball and give because he never looked like having any intent to take on the line or ask any question of the defence. It was catch, offload, and just give it to someone else to do it for him.
Yeah, and then it took KP. He started trying to get into reverse receiver because he was sitting there going, nothing's happening. And then even some of the wide balls, they'd have space, but they would pass it too early. They wouldn't go deep into the line.
Blues just go, cool, thank you, slide.
Kept sliding. I was perplexed at what I was seeing. The most experienced Origin player on the field, really not impacting the game. And I think there's big questions about bringing Dearden in. I really do. We can't afford to lose the next game. We cannot afford for that to happen again. And I do think there's going to be pressure for DCE to keep his spot.
I think Ches needs to go back to club level and
kill it.
Put into belters.
But that's the problem. And that's what I was going to say. He's been playing poorly all year.
Yeah.
And that's why I think they should go in a different direction. Because if he was killing it and had a bad game, he's had enough grace to say, all right, you've had a bad game. But he's been bad all year, pretty much since this whole contract thing started. So, yeah, it's a big decision for Billy Slater, and I have a feeling that's the way they'll go.
And the worrying thing is, look, if he was trying his heart out and it just wasn't working, that's when I'd be, look, it's DCE. But the worrying thing for me is he just wasn't sighted in the game. He took 9 kicks compared to Munster's 12. That makes no sense. He has outkicked Nathan Cleary in multiple Origin series. And we spoke
about it year after year, didn't we, in these recaps and going Ches out-kicking Cleary.
Doesn't make any sense. Harry Grant had 1 kick. Harry Grant was really poor, unfortunately. And this is the concern for Queensland, is they had a lot of people playing out of form. And my hope was, and my thing that I was kind of leaning into was, yes, they're out of form, but their Origin form was actually better than the Blues' Origin form. So maybe once they get into Origin, they all click. They've played so many years together.
The kicking thing's so weird. You would have thought it would be such a priority point for Queensland, given they're going up against Cleary and Moses, 2 of the best kickers in the comp. And now Cleary and Moses kicking wasn't great today either, but they're kicking. DC was, as you said, non-existent, and he's normally
everywhere.
He's kicked the most 40-20s in the history of the NRL. His long kicking game is pretty precise and pretty good, and as you said, he's out-kicked Cleary a few times in Origin. So baffling.
It's truly baffling. If anything, if there's a knock on DC sometimes in Origin, he overplays his hand and he doesn't give Munster the space to need to do what he does. Just very strange. And look, he clearly is just down on confidence right now, DCE.
Munster was like playing first receive for a lot of this, trying to get things going. It's like, no. Like, you've got one of the best ball running, damaging 5'8" in the game.
Get him some space.
Cheers, you get to 7, get him out wide and running the ball. Put him in positions.
The first good ball playing we had was Dearden, and they called it a forward pass, but at least he stripped him of numbers. If he nails that pass, it would have been the first time we really stripped him of numbers. The other time we stripped him of numbers because there was a knock on. Our only try was off a transition play. And you could argue that the players were offside anyway. The concerning thing is that we really didn't score points from any of our attack. It was a knock-on that went straight out to the wing. Very, very worrying. I think there's going to be big questions. There were already questions. And I think DCE got that jersey this year because he is the captain. I consider him a Queensland legend.
And deserved it.
Deserved it.
Should have been there, yeah.
But purely on form, a lot of people were talking about Dearden at 7. Potentially even Munster to fullback, Dearden and DCE. But I think there's pressure. I think there's big pressure on DCE to keep that role.
There is. I think unless he turns it out, I think he has a couple of weeks at club level to go, no, this is my jersey. I've got the form. I'll be okay. But if he doesn't, I think Billy probably picks Dearden. Now, I've sort of been open to Dearden as a 7 in the past. Obviously playing a bit of 7 for the Cowboys now with Jackson Purdue at 5'8". Yourself and Guru have been a little bit, maybe it's more of a long-term thing about Dearden moving to 7 and you see him more as a 6. Talking Origin football, can he go in there and run the show and play as a 7?
Well, I just think it's the option, the only option we have. And can he run the show? Unfortunately, the guy we had to run the show didn't run the show at all. So we may as well go with a guy that even if he's not running the show, at least he's running the ball. He may be able to do it. He said that he's keen for it. He said he's ready to be the 7 if he needs to be. But I'd rather, if you give me a 6 and 7 that's just running the ball all the time, I'd rather that than a 6 and 7 that just aren't there.
Yeah.
Dearden, we saw as soon as he got on the field, he attacked the game. He was the most dangerous player. So, I think there's a bit of pressure there. I think DC needs to go back and kill it. Our forwards, I thought Tino was good, Paddy was good, but, I was a bit sceptical about Fodawaker starting. 46 minutes, 4 runs, 37 metres in the front row. We've got to have more than that from our starting
And that's
front row.
the thing, Kempy, and I know you could argue similar for a couple of Blues players, but there were players coming in. This isn't overly critical of Billy. I just think it was the state that the Queensland players are in at the moment. A lot of players were picked out of form, right?
Yeah,
Kalen Ponga, Daly Cherry Evans. When Mo Fodawaker got picked, you're like, off the back of what? And you go, all right, no, give him the benefit of the doubt. He's been there and done it before. He's a bloody good footballer. And he came and he had 4 runs for 37 metres. There are a lot of players picked well out of form, and unfortunately it showed.
Yeah, and he 35 tackles, so it's not like he made 100 tackles or whatever. In Origin, you need your front rower having more than 4 runs for 37 metres. Even Lindsay Collins in less time, he had 8 runs for 78 metres. Bo Fermor in 17 minutes had the same amount of runs. Trent Leoro in 38 minutes had 9 runs for 60 metres. I just think in Origin, I know that he would have spent a lot of his time defending or whatever, but I think you just got to find a way to... If Tino and Paddy, and I know they had much more minutes, but they were, in the first half, they were up around the 80, 90 minute. I was quite surprised with Fodawaker starting, and that's why I think maybe you bring him off the bench if you're going to keep him in the squad.
Shorter stint, impactful. Yeah. Let Lindsay Collins do all the
Let him gas
work.
himself.
Yeah.
Let him just gas yourself. As soon as you gas, put your hand up. We'll take you straight off. Very, very surprised with that as a starting front rower in 40 minutes.
30 minutes into that game, and Queensland were looking so fatigued. And to be fair, both teams were looking pretty fatigued. And all I thought was, thank God they don't have Corey Horsburgh on the bench.
Oh, yeah.
I reckon he's straight in next game.
Yep.
Corey Horsburgh, I reckon there's every chance Kurt Mann comes in, especially if Tommy Dearden starts. Even there, I sat there and we went, all right, Harry Grant's not looking the best. He'll go off for a spell at some point. Tom Dearden, because he's not a bloody number 9. It wasn't until that great bit of ball playing he had for that final disallowed try, Grant was back on the field, and that was him playing as a 6, really.
Yep.
And there was the impact. And we spoke going into the show, Campy, and I was critical of the Dearden at 14 selection, and you boys were a bit more for it. And you sort of referenced when DCE or Concord, these blokes had come off the bench back in the day, and they did it with success. That's when they had an 80-minute number 9, a bloke called Cameron Smith, where they'd come in and they'd play that link role and they could be a bit more effective. But Tommy Dearden basically had to come on and give Harry Grant a spell and play as a number 9. It just didn't make sense. But I think Kurt Mann, if Dearden gets that start next game, Kurt Mann comes in, he's your 14, all of a sudden it just, you've got more impact coming off the bench.
Yeah, I think just really disappointing. I thought Lindsay Collins tried his heart out off the bench. I've got to talk about, I thought Nanai.
I was just about to bring up
the energy he brought. Like, you don't look at his stats. It's a bit similar to Liam Martin. Don't look at his stats, but the energy he brought was huge. Absolutely huge. And I've got to say, Cotter in defence especially was unbelievable. 45 tackles, 0 misses on an edge. Like a great defensive knock. So I thought Nanai in attack, like I really felt, I feel like if we didn't have Nanai on the field, like I don't know where we're getting our spark from.
We got the full Nanai show, didn't we?
Yeah.
Like, I was...
The silly error, but at the same time, a try time as well.
Mate, I was sceptical of him not being picked, but starting.
Yep.
I had him in my team, but I had him off the bench. And you just saw a bit of everything. He was brilliant with ball in hand, and mate, more than anything, the energy he brought.
He just brought some energy. We
and
had
the
no
lift
energy.
that he tried to get you, and then he put that shot on, had the impact for that one try. The next set, you've got the Blues under pressure, and he does the most obvious rake of all time. You go, what are you doing? He was outstanding. Defensively, he's still, while he did a decent job, he's still quite passive there. I still like him in less minutes, get that real impact. But, mate, he had more of a crack than any Queenslander on that field.
He was really our energy. Like, he was our energy.
And you could see it, like, how fired up he was.
Yeah. And that's a bit worried with the Queensland. I saw moments of them being fired up, but not sustained energy and anger and fire. I just didn't see it, unfortunately. I thought, Paddy and Tino worked their absolute backsides off. I don't think they could have done much more for their team.
I thought Tino was great.
Yeah, I really they really could not have done much more. Tino, 14 runs, 121 metres. Paddy Carrigan, 16 runs, 136 metres.
I think Robert Toya held his own. If you look at the difference in tackles, Hammer had to make 7 tackles. Toya had to make 24. They come at him all night.
Wow.
Toya was great. There was only one pass that he should have thrown that he didn't.
Yeah,
but it wasn't an error. I thought Toya was really solid. Unfortunately, I thought Hammer had a poor night.
And in Toya's defence with that pass, at this point in his career, he's not noted as a silky ball-playing centre. He's a big, strong
in Origin,
ball
coming out of your own end, it's a risky play.
He more than held his own on the Latrell Mitchell. Hammer, that's the other thing. Like, we said this before the game. We know Hammer can play centre and do a job. We know Val can play a wing and do a job. But the reality is that at club level, week in, week out, they're not playing these positions. Hammer defensively was poor. Val was okay, but he shot out for that Crichton one and didn't get anywhere near him. They're playing out of position. It's a hard thing in the space of one game to click back into a different position.
Yeah. Yeah, and so it's going to be interesting to see if there's any changes in the back line. Kalen Pong was okay, but he looked a bit out of sorts. He looked clunky himself.
Big couple of weeks for Reece Walsh if he can get back for a game. He was due this week and then apparently there was a setback. But
I have to be honest, it does not look good for Queensland. This series does not look good for Queensland. They are going to have to improve. The scoreboard doesn't do the Blues justice. It really doesn't. This was a total domination from the Blues. They had the game in a stranglehold. Billy Slater's got some huge decisions to make. Are we getting to the point where we're seeing the negative side of an aging spine in key positions? Is it starting to hurt us a little bit? I'm not sure. The problem is who's next up. And I got to say, I thought Munster, he tried his backside off. He really did, have a dig.
Yeah.
He wasn't perfect, but he had a crack. But who's next up?
That's the question. So long term, maybe Sammy Walker, but he's obviously out and come back from an ACL injury. I mean, Tommy Dearden's the one, right?
Yeah.
It's Tommy Dearden.
Munster.
Between Ponga and Reece Walsh, and if you want to play Hammer there, you'll be fine at fullback. Iongi, you'll be fine there. But right now,
the outside backs.
Your fullbacks are just in a rut at the moment. The depth is not there anywhere.
Yeah. Your centres, we've got guys. We've got a rookie 10 game. We've got a fullback in Hammer playing centre. We've got a centre Val playing wing, even though I rate him as wing. Yeah. I mean, I thought Coates was good. So that's a positive. I thought he was probably one of our best, actually. But
we said it during the game, Kempy, but 14-6 down. I think there was about 10-ish to go. Moses had the high tackle on.
Take the points.
Moses had the high tackle on Ponga. Didn't take the 2, and it was
What?
It was a tricky spot, but should have been kicked regardless.
They take the 2. The rest of the game, it's one try.
One score game.
Why didn't they take the 2?
As dominant and as comfortable as the Blues were, that changes the whole
Everything.
complex. It's like there, and there may have been. It didn't even look like there was a conversation. It's like, what are you doing?
Like what? Think about how amped you get if they convert that. When Queensland are running back to their try line, they're all saying, "Boys, we just need to score once." I cannot believe Billy didn't take the 2 there. Like I would love to hear. Was it a DCE call? Was it a Billy call? I got to say that was a wrong call.
I can't see a world why they wouldn't have, or if there was a miscommunication or what happened. But I'll tell you what, there wasn't a quick tap or anything. There was time. It was slowed down to make the decision. You dropped it a tackle or 2 later, and it was like, okay, cool. Was that just the greatest let off of all time?
Massive. Yeah, we went from not putting scoreboard pressure on to literally dropping the ball. And I've got literally in my notes here, why didn't Queensland take the 2?
And then that next set, you're coming off your own line, you're going, it's a 1-score game. Yeah. You've got Tino going ham, you've got Carrington going ham. That sparks Hammer into life. Hammer comes and gets in around the ruck sniffing.
Kalen.
Ponga sniffs around the ruck, and it just changes the whole energy of the game. Didn't take it anyway. Stoked as a Blues supporter.
Mate, for the life of me, I cannot understand why we didn't take the 2 there. Like, imagine that set of 6, as you just said. That set of 6 from Queensland would have been everything. Yeah. They would have thrown everything into that set of 6. Instead, we're defending our own friggin' goal line pretty much. Yeah. I just don't understand that. So, yeah, Queensland find themselves in a very, very worrying position. They've got to go over to Perth now to find a way to get a win. But this Blues side, they look confident. They look cocky, deservedly so. They look arrogant, deservedly so. They look dominant. It is going to take truly all that Queensland mythology and spirit we always talk about. It's going to take all of that to get a win in this series in Game 2.
Well, mate,
all of that.
You love that underdog status.
Oh,
Bloody
mate.
got it now. So
holy. What do you reckon Queensland will be paying? I reckon like nearly $3 Game 2.
For the game, more.
$3.50?
Nah,
$3, you reckon?
I reckon $3.
I reckon more.
Nah. Blues $1.46, Queensland $2.72.
I'll say one thing.
Right now, $2.72?
Right now, yes.
I reckon it'll get up to $3.
I think in the last 15 or more years, there's been one sweep. History suggests there'll probably be a decider. And
I think it's more than that, Timmy.
More than that. It's ridiculous, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure about a sweep, but I'm just like
this
next game, like they are going to have to make such a dramatic improvement. Yeah. Like think about how far they were off the pace this game. If Cleary kicks even half his goals, they're winning less. Like they're getting beaten 13+ at Suncorp.
Yeah, that's the thing. The fact that it's at Suncorp, that's the kicker. You're really going to be digging uphill from now.
Yeah, like Suncorp was our guaranteed. Like think about how much even your guys' mentality has changed in a year's time. Last year, before Game 3, every Blues fan was sitting up there. Oh, Suncorp's a guaranteed win for Queensland. We've lost this series. Like as soon as you lost Game 1, you were like, we've lost this series. That used to be the attitude. Now all of a sudden, Blues fans don't think that anymore because they're like, we just went back to back at Suncorp. We don't need to give a shit about that. It is a, he's got a huge task ahead, Billy Slater. He's going to have to pull out all the stops. Blues, what an incredible win. Guys, make sure to subscribe to us, our YouTube, leave a comment, let us know what you think. Who was your man of the match? Who needs to be brought into the side? Who do you think it needs to be replaced? All the comments. Make sure to grab yourself some coffee, guys. It's the best way to support the flat platform. But also, on June 10th, we've got the maroon bloke, the comfiest things we've ever made. We've got the hats, we've got the blue jumpers, the blue hats. June 10th, it's the best way to support the platform. If you consume all this content for free, all this hours and hours of content, please grab a jumper or a hat. It really does support us, guys. Massive congratulations to the Blues. What an incredible victory. And they're building something very, very special there. And it was the night of Payne Haas, Stephen Crichton, and Zack Lomax for me. Absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Enjoy it, Blues fans. A brilliant win. We will see you on Monday.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.